Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another lore reading session between weapons and artifacts, continuing our journey, getting through all of these. Before 3.0 inevitably comes through, we just finished reading through the Wanderer's Troop artifact and weapon set. I just want to give a big shout out to the writing team. Whatever team is responsible for contextualizing the lore of this game in all different formats, whether they're cutscenes, books, flavor text. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I was just reading stuff individually and had to mentally put all that stuff in order for myself. I just really love the writing. I love the world building that they set up for all of this stuff. I'm just glad that I'm giving it the time of day because I feel like this is only going to make me fall in love more with the game as I continue to uncover all of these truths and secrets and reveals that have been in the game for over a year at this point. So we are now moving into the Knights of Old. This is the category that we're going to be jumping into, focusing, I believe, on things like the Knights of Favonius. I think this is still post-aristocracy era, but pre-modern day era stuff. We're actually going to be starting with the Favonius sword. So obviously Knights of Favonius based. A standard issue longsword of the Knights of Favonius. When you're armed with this agile and sharp weapon, channeling the power of the elements has never been so easy. Ooh, wow, we got a bit of lore here. Holy shit. A standard longsword wielded by the Knights of Favonius. It is usually only issued after the approval of both the Master of the Order and the Church. The craftsmen in Mondstadt have achieved some results of elemental affinity by studying Mondstadt's animo. This light and agile sword is not only an honor bestowed upon the Knights of Favonius, but also the fruit of the hard work and skills of the Guardians of Mondstadt. It can channel elemental powers with ease. Its bearers would do well to remember that its sharp blade is intended for defending, not attacking. The traditional art of Favonius Bladeworks was originated by the childhood friend and spiritual counterpart of Arundolin, the Lion of Light, whose name was Rostam the Wolf Pup. That's actually really cool. Wait, so is he like the Lion of the South? Like the Lion Fang Knight, which I wonder if that means Arundolin is the Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius. Legend says that he could chop each drop of rain out of the sky and that the wind from his sword dance could split the rose and extinguish the torch. In this lies the essence of Favonius Bladework. Light, swift, and precise to the defense of Mondstadt. At age 27, Rostam received the title of Wolf Pup. I wonder if that has to do with the Wolf of the North, right? Because you have like the lion, the dragon, the falcon. It's like one of the four winds. He's basically being referenced to Andreas. At age 27, Rostam received the title of Wolf Pup. Knights of Favonius tradition dictates that the title of Lion and Wolf were reserved for those of great leadership potential. Such individuals would one day assume the position of Grandmaster, devoting themselves to the leadership of a magnitude of knights and the safeguard of Mondstadt. But though he fulfilled his duties faithfully and devoted himself to Mondstadt, Rostam would not live to see that day. Since Rostam introduced the Bladework style, no other practitioner has ever matched his legendary ability. But his fervor, along with his will to protect Mondstadt, would stay with the knights throughout the generations. Damn. I feel like all of this lore and all of these readings are just gonna be tragic deaths of really awesome characters who did a lot for Mondstadt back in the day. D-Luke's out here like Knights of Favonius are so inefficient. And it's like, yeah, because they got fucking nerfed over the generations. All of these awesome people just got bodied. It's so tragic, man. Okay, we have Furist Shadow, a replica of the famed sword of Arundolin, the Lion of Light. Feel the power of the legendary hero as you hold this sword in your hand. Imagine yourself as the great warrior himself. Note, daydreaming not recommended in live combat. That's funny. When the young Arundolin swung his replica greatsword, modeled after the one wielded by Ravenwood, the Knight of Boreas. Wait, who the hell is this? Okay, hold on. Another name, Ravenwood. That's kind of crazy that Grandmaster Varka is both the Knight of Boreas and the Grandmaster of fucking Mondstadt. Knight of Boreas might be like the evolved title of Wolf Pup. They mentioned that the lion and the wolf were titles given to someone that would eventually be able to go on to become Grandmaster. So these were probably just like elevated positions. So from Wolf Pup to Knight of Boreas, which Boreas is based on the Wolf of the North, and then Grandmaster, which is why I think Grandmaster Varka is both the Knight of Boreas and the Grandmaster. I'm only speculating. I'm not entirely sure. Imagining that he was cutting the old nobles of Mondstadt down, he never envisaged that he would one day become the renowned Lion of Light, nor did he envision envisage that his playmate Rostam, with whom he sparred with in their childhood, would grow up to become his most trusted right-hand man, before going on to die in the course of duty, having served the people of Mondstadt for 23 years. The replica of the Lion of Light's greatsword is now in the hands of another youngster. How will this mysterious fate be passed on? I wonder if they're referring to Diluc, because he uses a greatsword, right? It could be Razor. I don't remember what Razor's art looks like what weapon he's holding. I would actually say it's more Razor now that I think about it, because they're talking about the Knight of Boreas and all that stuff in this one, and Rostam used to be Wolf Pup, and Ravenwood, which is the weapon that it's modeled after, was the Knight of Boreas, and Grandmaster Varka went on to teach Razor how to use a claymore, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's that same weapon that might have been passed down from generation to generation or whatever. Ooh, I checked. Razor does use the Furrow's Shadow. Nice. So we were on the money right there. Okay. Favonius Greatsword is next. A heavy ceremonial sword of the Knights of Favonius. It channels elemental powers easily and is highly destructive. A heavy ceremonial sword of the Knights of Favonius. It is usually only issued after the approval of both the Grandmaster and the Church. The craftsmen in Mondstadt have achieved such results in elemental affinity by studying the ancient artifacts of Mondstadt. This heavy greatsword is not only an honor bestowed upon a Knight of Favonius, but also the fruit of the hard work and skills of the Guardians of Mondstadt. It can channel elemental powers with ease. Its bearers would do well to remember that destruction is but a means to an end, the end being the defense that which must be defended. Only a single-handed form of Rostam, the Wolf Pup's Favonius Blade Works, survives today. Another form has been lost to history, that of Arendolan, the Lion of Light, that would wield both a long sword and great sword together in battle. We need that as a fighting style. Bro, what? This man had a long sword and a great sword fucking dual wielding. Holy shit, that's sick. They better bring dual wielding to Genshin someday. Because of the great strength needed, only those gifted with extraordinary strength could attempt this form. Thus, it soon died out. Grandmaster Varka, I'm begging you, please dual wield. Close companions growing up, Arendolan was from a long line of knights, while Rostam was born to a peasant family. Their childhood friendship was forged from sharing a dream of heroism. As young men, they became fellow knights. As mature adults, one became Grandmaster and the other his assistant. Oh my god! Whenever I have a question, I'm just gonna keep reading. My question is shortly answered thereafter. Grandmaster Arendolan? Bro, he didn't have a vision either! Man didn't have a vision and straight dual-wielded swords. That's some Giga Chad energy right there. What the fuck? Grandmaster Arendolan was no vision bearer. His formidable strength came from a mixture of natural gifts and intense training. The Grandmaster's strength was his pride, and the Grandmaster was the pride of the knights, nay, the pride of all in Mondstadt. After Rostam met his fate, Arendolan never displayed his strength again, for no longer was it a source of glory to challenge vicious monsters. Oh. Conria. I think that's what it's referring to. I think these guys were from 500 years ago. It was either one of two things. Either the Cataclysm of Mondstadt is what they're referring to, or similar to how Makoto went to Conria, Rostam went to Conria. He either went to Conria or he defended Mondstadt from the Conria, like, monsters and Abyss and all that shit. Damn, bruh, what the fuck? All right, we have the Defender's Will artifact set. We're starting with the goblet. I'm so sad. Guardian's Vessel, a metal vessel that can be filled with a drink to dispel the loneliness of the long watch. An exceedingly ordinary old wine canteen. If one had to point out something special about it, it would be that it never once contained a drop of alcohol. Come on, you have to try a little wine sometimes. The Guardian's longtime friend and superior joked. Oh my god, it's between them two. Stop knitting knitting those eyebrows together. Have a little wine and song. I mean, that's how we have the courage to face tomorrow. Arendolan's like, all right, Rostam, come on now. Have a little sippy sip. We're men, all right? We're about to fight in a grand war. We have the plume next. Guardian sigil, a feather-shaped brooch that symbolized someone's yearning to defend others like a shield. The shield crest engraved upon this quill glistened in the pale moonlight. Long ago, this light would strike fear in the hearts of evildoers and thieves. The Guardian had a very precious knightly title, but at night, he would disguise his crest and face beneath a mantle. Thus, he would shake off his restraints and do that which needed to be done, yet could not be done by an upright knight in good standing. Wait a minute, is this D-Luke? Was there a vigilante of justice before D-Luke came along? But I assume it's a parallel. I assume Rostam is probably like a reflection of D-Luke, whereas Arendolan is a reflection of modern day Jean. And that's the parallel. All right, next we have the Sands. Guardian's clock, a small timekeeping gadget. On moonless night, it was the only way its former owner could know the time. The ticking of the clock's hand, the candlelight, and the ream of case notes, the shadows by moonlight, the blade and black mantle. These were the constant companions of a lonesome guardian. But no matter how far he went, there was never enough time. His superior, carefree and proud, often laughed at his curtness, his unsmiling face, his aversion to fun. Yeah, D-Luke definitely takes after Rostam, that's for sure. But the Guardian was not one to look back on the past, only to the present and future. Only by reaving every last trace of evil, no matter the means, could he ensure that this land that his friend and superior loved would have a future without fear. Only when he gazed on that maiden in the square could he think upon things he had no time for. Only then could he think of his own future. The maiden in the square, you say? I wonder if that's Rosalind Krushka Lahafalter, perhaps. Guardian's band, a fabric band dyed indigo by the darkness of night, can also double as bandage in the event of an emergency. Always have a backup plan. He wore this headband to remind himself of that axiom. In an emergency, it could also serve as a tourniquet. By this creed, he taught his swordsmanship to the knights under his friend's command. By this credo, he also mentored a white knight who loved justice above all else. In its name, he nipped many seedlings that might have blossomed into evil in the bud. As long as he was sufficiently prepared, even if one day he would be unable to defend this land or protect his friends or the maiden who loved to sing. Yeah, so he basically mentored as much as he could to pass on his knowledge, his swordsmanship in the event that he was no longer around to defend Mondstadt. Lastly, we have the flower. Guardian's flower, an iris that was cherished by the Guardian. Unfortunately, the chance never came for it to be given to whom the Guardian loved. Only that maiden's clear voice could cause the Guardian's brow to come unbound. Their time together was short. At last, the knight's blood would run dry, as would her tears and her songs. And that's signifying Rostam's death, most likely. This is fucking depressing. All right, we're moving on to the Braveheart artifact set now. And we're starting with the Crown of the Brave, a rough and ready laurel wreath that seems as precious as the king's golden crown. The little hero entered the deep mysterious forest and henceforth walked the path of resistance. His best playmate played the role of a champion knight of the aristocracy. Like a lion, I stride the battlefield like she did 1,000 years before. Songs I will aspire with my sword to give to generations to come. Their toy great swords and tree branches clashed in their fierce duel until at last the hero won the day and seized the aristocrats' crowns from their heads. Many years later, this wreath of flowers, though crudely made, would be more precious than the power a master of knights held. Bro, they're just like kids like, yo, we're gonna grow up and be heroes and protect everybody, and you're gonna die when you're in your 20s, and that's tragic. We got the flower next. Medal of the Brave, a simple flower brooch that is a keepsake from someone's first adventure. The little hero slipped out of doors at night and with his friend rushed headlong into the wolves' forest. With his slingshot, he chased boars, and with sturdy branches, he would battle imaginary monsters. Following the shiny Seelie deep into the woods, he discovered a treasure that had laid buried for 1,000 years. That treasure was a small yellow flower. When the tired hero returned returned to his childhood bedroom and flipped through the proof of his first adventures, he discovered to his surprise that the long-hidden flower had yet to wilt. Yet in this, it was alone, for everything else had changed in the passing of years. I really like how they're painting the picture of them like as kids first, with like imagination and a lot of like excitement about the future, and Conry happens and ruins everything for everyone, man. We got the goblet next. Onset of the Brave. A crude wooden vessel filled only with memories. The young hero's first battle ended, and for the first time he tasted the sweet victory of wine. That day, deep of the vine, he drank with his closest friend, supportive, joyful, and blissfully ignorant. Many years later, when the cataclysm came, he led the knights to fight for his homeland. On the eve of battle, he advised his childhood friend and longtime deputy to come drink with him. If you do not return, I will not mourn you. Nay, I will toast you and drink in your honor, just as we do today. Wow. So they were defending Mondstadt, which I actually think that battle took place at Didalpa Gorge. That's why the Cemetery of Swords are there. I think that's where the battle was like primarily held for defending Mondstadt. I think this was Arundolin to Rostam. He said his childhood friend and longtime deputy, so his right hand. He asked him to come drink with him before their fight with the Abyss. Prospect of the Brave. A shimmering flower from a songbird that brings a nudge of courage to its wearer. To comfort his crybaby of a companion, the young hero gave his friend a bird's feather. It was proof of their shared adventure, of the treasure they found together, and was meant to embolden his comrade. Much later, one of them was named a lion and became a crownless king at the head of many knights. The other became a wolf, supporting his friend from the shadows and running affairs of state. Yep, so that pretty much confirms it, that Rostam was basically the vigilante in the shadows, while his friend was the lion in the light that kept everything intact in the public eye, and then Rostam kept everything intact from the shadows. In those turbulent times, the two defended their home and each other like sword and dagger, but this was a story from long ago, and many were lost during the cataclysm, as it goes. And lastly of this set, Fortitude of the Brave. A dated miniature hourglass that serves no practical purpose. It seems as elusive as time itself. When the black curses poured forth and the root of disaster infested the earth, the knights on expedition in a foreign land. Wait, they went to Conria? The knights on expedition in a foreign land would face the horror head on. Their formation steely as the northern glaciers. The steel of their great swords flashed brightly, and the hour ichor fell like poisoned rain. At last, the hero returned home, but this time without his old friend. So much had changed, save for the hourglass that childhood companion had gifted him. Bruh. Did every like important person of that nation go to, like, did Guizhong go to Conria and that's how she died? I have no idea about Guizhong and Zhongli. We'll eventually read them, but I'm thinking like, did the fucking Dendro Archon of Sumeru go to Conria and that's why they had to replace them in the last 500 years because they also died in that expedition? Was there a sacrifice made to defend the homeland like Zhongli defended Liyue with the Yaksha? Guizhong went to Conria to fight them there and she died. Makoto did the same while A stayed and defended Inazuma and she died. We'll find out as time goes on, but that's just kind of like what I'm thinking. Dude, I really hope that they show us through cinematic, through cutscene, or even through like retroactive event, like where we can play the moments of the past, like what that cataclysm looked like for all of those nations simultaneously, or even in parts. I think that would be so fucking cool. All right, next up, we have our first 5-star weapon that we're gonna be looking at, Elegy of the End. A bow as lovely as any bard's lyre. Its arrows pierces the heart like a lamenting sigh. The west wind bears wine's fragrance away. The mountain wind brings good tidings new. The breeze from afar tugs at my heart. It sings of my longing for you. Oh my God. That's so good. That's romantic as fuck. I'm just saying, dude. Long ago, there was a knight who was ever dour of countenance. Only a certain song could ever cause his brow to unfurl, and only a certain girl who sang that song in the square could cause him to forget the great burdens of his duty for a time. But at last, calamity came upon this land. The song that had once flown joyfully in the wind were drowned by a venomous dragon. In the wake of its earth-shattering footsteps, footsteps, even the cries and the flames were ripped asunder. The animal Archon heard their agony, though he had refused to rule. But to protect his old friend's dream and defend the wind-kissed fields of green, he awoke from his long slumber anew, and with the sky dragon into battle he flew. The knight and his knights also fought for their land. So that was Durin, and Venti woke up, grabbed Dvalin, and so at the same time as the Cataclysm was Durin attacking as well. And so like the fight between Venti, Durin, and Dvalin also took place around the time of the calamity. When the venomous dragon fell to ruin on the ice-sealed peak, the blue sky dragon fell asleep in the ancient tower. But the knight was in the valley, spent of his life's blood, and as he fell, he could only think thus: she is abroad, studying, so she should be well. But ah, how I wish to hear her sing again. Rosalind wasn't even in Mondstadt when that shit happened. I believe she was studying in the academia in Sumeru at that time. At least Arundolin and Roland are all right. When she returns, this calamity should have blown over. Did Sumeru go through a different cataclysm? Didn't all the cataclysm, or maybe all the cataclysm happened at different times? But if she's there, she's probably going through like some crazy shit too if it's happening simultaneously. The songs in praise of the Archon and tunes had recorded the battle of the two dragons were many, but all slowly became lost. The song the girl loved to sing too changed upon her return. The dandelions carry in the summer wind. Autumn brings the fragrance of grain, but no wind in any season on earth shall have you gaze upon me again. My God, that's so sad. And after her voice and her tears had run dry, the girl swore to use her life's flame to cleanse the world's crookedness. And thus, the Crimson Witch of Flame was born. Holy shit, dude. La Signora was born. She became the Crimson Witch of Flame because Rostam was killed at Conria. I mean, she would blame the gods, right? Like, the gods knew about this. Celestia knew about this. They're the one who enacted this to happen. What better way to get your revenge than go after the seven Gnosis and travel with the Fatui and the Saritsa, who seems to be setting up some coup against the Celestia gods, you know? What's crazier too is that she had a run-in with Venti during the prologue. No wonder she fucking went at him like that, you know what I mean? Like, this was the region that her love died in, but she doesn't know what happened, so Lord knows what was told to her, you know what I mean? Like, if she was found by the first Fatui, they could say whatever they want to get her on their side. What I also want to know is how the fuck has La Signora been alive for the last 500 years until she died by the fucking Electro Archon of all people? I don't know if she was a fucking like lava bender or some shit, and she went to Sumeru to learn or to teach or to like follow up on that knowledge or whatever. And I guess because she got the cryo element, it counteracted her ability, like her body basically like setting her ablaze, and maybe that's what's preserved her this whole time. We're gonna read her set next, actually. The Crimson Witch of Flame set. Okay, we're starting with the Sands. Witch's End Time. A timepiece worn by the witch who dreamt of burning away all the demons in the world. The years the witch dedicated to the flame flow within. A small vessel containing a high temperature liquid. It is said to be the molten souls of evil spirits. A special hydro timepiece given to the Crimson Witch before calamity struck. Back then, she was still a maiden and had not yet embarked on her journey. One cycle was the time required to finish her studies at the academia. By the time the countdown ended and she returned to her hometown, its previous owner had become a casualty of the crisis. Her maiden years were over. The Crimson Witch of Flame was born, and with her, the era of destruction. The timepiece bore witness to the days of monsters and the pain they caused until they were burned away. It's crazy how this hydro timepiece became a pyro timepiece with the passage of said time. Jesus Christ. It's just so unfortunate that like Rosalind's lore is all in the past. Everything regarding her lore has already come to pass. So like when she's relevant in the story, she gets one shot by the Raiden Shogun and then she dies. Again, she's the Crimson Witch of Flame, so she could rise from those ashes. Whoever gave her that hydro timepiece, which I assume was Rostam, given that he died after the cataclysm in Mondstadt and Conria, is who they're referring to. Witch's Flower of Blaze. A flower touched by the witch who once dreamt of burning away all the demons in the world. The anonymous flame affectionately caresses the hand of those who touch it. A common species of flower, it is curiously capable of resisting the Crimson Witch's flame. A crisis centuries ago dashed all hopes of the maiden seeing the future promised to her. Those dear to her, her past days, and her bright future, all gone. From the ashes, the Crimson Witch of Flame was born, and she burned away her pain with fire. Yet this flower stayed resilient, soft, and moist. Perhaps both pain and beautiful memories were two sides of the same coin. I just want to go ahead and say, I think this is the most aesthetically pleasing artifact piece in the entire game. Next, we got the plume, Witch's ever-burning plume. A bird feather touched by the witch who once dreamt of burning... I love how it's just reinforcing. Touched by the witch who once dreamt of burning away all the demons in the world. Its eternal flame burns hot. An ever-burning bird feather. The flame shall burn for all eternity. Scorched earth followed in her wake, for she chose a path of hellfire. Though her fires only touched monsters and demons, people still cowered behind closed doors and tried to drive her away, but none of that mattered to her. New hopes were birthed from the flames of old pain. She needed not comfort nor sympathy. Chirping by her side, the birds gave her all the understanding she needed. That reminds me of like her death quote when she mentions like, I never asked for redemption, never. This is truly a tale of a woman scorned, quite literally, to where she wants to literally burn the earth with her. One thing that I am confused about is if this tragedy took place in Conria, I wonder how it went on to affect all of the nations. The only thing I can think of is that Conria is confirmed to be a city underground, and we know that ley line branches dig and are rooted underground. So the only thing that I can think of is that Conria has like one of those Irminsul trees. When this whole destruction, abyss, darkness stuff corrupted everything, it infected that tree whose branches are embedded and spread throughout the other 7 nations, and that eventually led to the spread of the darkness to those other nations as well. What do we have next? The goblet, which is heart flames. A fire-spitting urn left behind by the Crimson Witch of Flame, who once dreamt of burning away all the demons in the world. Don't forget, the fire in the urn burns eternally, as did its former master. A clear bottle contained liquid fire. The technique involved in making liquid fire... Holy shit, dude, she's a lava bender. The technique involved in making liquid fire has since been lost. The Crimson Witch of Flame walked upon the earth, burning monsters into cinders. Rumor told of how she sacrificed her mortal body to become the embodiment of liquid fire itself. Still, love and longing once dwelt in her maiden heart, until fires burned away that beautiful and fragile part. Thus became the witch that historians were loath to remember. Holy shit, dude. She's a lava bender, and she's immortal. So if she's like walking liquid lava, and she has like the cryo to offset that, that would make sense of why she has like a corporeal form that's not just a fucking lava slime thing, you know? Yeah, she turned herself into a pyro slime. And lastly, we have the circlet, Witch's scorching hat. A hat once worn by the witch who dreamt of burning away all of the demons in the world. The large brim blocked her sight. That's literally a fucking witch's hat. A traditional witch's pointed hat with a large brim. It grants a witch the reverence and fear which she commands. To the Crimson Witch of Flames, this large hat shielded her from surrounding distractions. It was how she was able to hone her pyro skills when she was still an apprentice. In combat, she needed not pay attention to monsters disintegrating in flames, nor did she need to look at her burnt face in the water's reflection. And so the Crimson Witch continued to burn, blind to the extent of her devastation. AKA, she's literally a hazard to herself and everyone around her. There was literally no stopping her until the Fatui came by and gave her some control back to her life in some way, shape, or form, which is, it is what it is at that point. Siding with the Fatui or with the Cryo Archon wasn't going to bring her love back, but it was going to give her the thirsty revenge that she wanted from everything that happened because of Conria and Celestia and the calamity that happened as a result. So talks of her are still going to be present, I think, especially when we get to like the Fatui and when we get to Snezhnaya and when we meet the Cryo Archon and everything else like that. This was phenomenal. This is like a big piece of lore that I've been missing out on for quite some time, especially considering how I didn't know anything about like Mondstadt and like Arendolan, Rostam, Ravenwood, Roland, and, you know, that whole gang. I never knew what went down in Mondstadt or how it went down. I actually didn't even know that Rosalind was from Mondstadt. I thought this initially too. I thought all the Fatui came from Snezhnaya because it was where the Cryo Archon was from, but that wasn't true. It's kind of cool to know that she was actually a maiden, a singer from Mondstadt. That's really awesome. But yeah, this was incredible. This was awesome. This was great. We're gonna get into the Lawrence clan next, so I hope you guys look forward to it, but I hope you guys have been enjoying these readings so far. A lot of new information that's coming to light for me, and I'm really, really excited about it. Signora's been dead for like 5 patches, 6 patches at this point, but it's still cool to at least understand and contextualize a lot about her from what we've seen of her from Mondstadt, Liyue, and Inazuma. Makes sense why she would join the Fatui after everything that happened. I just hope we get more information or more knowledge of her beyond her just being dead now. Yeah, moving on to the Lawrence clan next.